Unlock modern Stoicism. 7 strategies to detach from people and situations. Life today is a whirlwind, endless distractions, overwhelming responsibilities, and emotions that pull us in every direction. But what if there was a way to remain calm, focused and unshaken no matter what? The ancient Stoics, masters of resilience, left behind a philosophy that's more relevant now than ever. Modern Stoicism isn't about rejecting emotions, it's about mastering them, just as a skilled sailor navigates a storm without losing control. In this video, we'll uncover the Stoic secrets to emotional strength, teaching you how to cultivate true inner peace, no matter the chaos around you. Let's dive in. A. The 7 steps to Stoic detachment. Detaching from people and situations that no longer serve us is not about coldness or avoidance. It's about protecting our peace and making wiser choices. Stoicism provides a clear path to doing this with logic and virtue. Here are 7 essential steps to practicing Stoic detachment in your daily life. Number 1. Evaluate the wisdom of your choices. There are moments when certain people or situations consume your thoughts, disturb your peace, and cloud your judgment. You've been there, I have too. It's easy to get pulled into negativity, conflicts, or emotions that make it hard to think clearly. But the first step to regaining control isn't to react, it's to step back. Not as an escape, but as an opportunity to gain clarity. Stoic secrets teach us that inner peace isn't about controlling the world around us, it's about mastering our responses to it. If you ever find yourself overwhelmed, whether it's a toxic relationship, a stressful work environment, or an emotional conflict, distance allows you to see things as they truly are, rather than through the haze of strong emotions. Cicero wisely wrote in his letters to Lucilius, "Retreat into your own mind often. Associate with those who bring out your best, and welcome those you can uplift." It's a reciprocal process. We learn as we help others learn. His words remind us that stepping back isn't avoidance, it's a tool for self-reflection. It allows you to reset, analyze the situation logically, and return with a stronger, clearer perspective. This is the mark of an iron mind, one that doesn't react impulsively, but responds with measured wisdom. Think of your emotions like stormy weather. When you're caught in the rain, you don't fight the storm. You find shelter, wait for it to pass, and proceed with caution. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, put it simply, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality. When emotions run high, our minds tend to create exaggerated narratives, turning small issues into major crises. But when you step away, even briefly, you allow the emotional storm to settle. You separate fact from fiction, and what once felt overwhelming now becomes manageable." In today's world, we often feel pressured to react immediately, whether it's to a heated conversation, a frustrating email, or an uncomfortable situation. But wisdom lies in restraint. Instead of reacting impulsively, remove yourself, physically if necessary. Take a walk, sit in silence, journal your thoughts, or spend time in nature. This isn't avoidance, it's discipline. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic emperors, knew the value of stepping back before responding. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That strength comes from the ability to pause, reflect, and act from reason, not emotion. I once knew someone who always felt the need to immediately respond to conflict. Whether it was an argument, an insult, or a stressful situation, he reacted instantly, often with frustration, regret, or unnecessary words. But over time he realized this approach only made things worse. So he started practicing deliberate detachment. When tension rose, instead of reacting, he stepped away. He gave himself time to process, to breathe, and to see the situation from a broader perspective. And something changed. He no longer felt controlled by emotions. He responded wisely rather than impulsively. He didn't just gain control over situations, he gained control over himself. How often do you give yourself the space to think before you act? Are you allowing your emotions to dictate your responses, or are you stepping back long enough to make thoughtful choices? Modern Stoicism isn't about withdrawing from life. It's about learning when to pause so you can return stronger. You don't have to cut ties forever to detach from negativity. Sometimes you just need a moment of distance to reclaim your power. Because in the end, true mastery isn't about controlling everything around you. It's about learning how to stay unshaken no matter what happens. Let me ask you this. If you're ready to take full ownership of your decisions, to empower yourself through wisdom and mastery, now is the time to act. Like this video and comment below. Clarity is power. Because true strength doesn't come from controlling others, it comes from mastering yourself. Number 2, set limits on your emotional reactions. Letting go of people isn't about cutting ties impulsively. It's about making wise, ethical decisions based on reason rather than raw emotion. Stoic principles teach us that our ultimate goal is eudaimonia, a life of moral virtue and inner fulfillment. This means every relationship we keep should support our growth, strengthen our character, and contribute to our overall well-being. Epictetus once said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." In other words, no one has control over your emotions unless you hand them the power. So, when it comes to people who drain, manipulate, or challenge your values, ask yourself, is this relationship making me a better person, or is it pulling me away from who I strive to be? The Stoics believed in oikeiosis, the natural inclination to seek goodness and form meaningful relationships. But not all relationships are meant to last. Marcus Aurelius advised, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." The same applies to the people you surround yourself with. If a relationship repeatedly leads to negativity, stress, or moral compromise, it's not just affecting your emotions, it's shaping your character. You wouldn't keep drinking from a well that poisons you, so why continue engaging in relationships that do the same to your mind and spirit? Stoic lessons teach that moving away from toxic or harmful influences isn't cold-hearted. It's an act of wisdom and self-respect. I once knew someone who struggled with this. He had a childhood friend who, over the years, became increasingly negative and manipulative. Every conversation was filled with complaints, gossip, and a victim mentality. My friend felt obligated to maintain the connection, fearing that distancing himself would make him disloyal. But when he started applying modern Stoicism, he realized that loyalty to others should never come at the cost of disloyalty to yourself. He began limiting his emotional investment, responding with calm detachment instead of getting pulled into every crisis or complaint. Slowly, he reclaimed his peace, not by fighting or cutting ties abruptly, but by mastering his own reactions and prioritizing his well-being. Epictetus, a former slave who found intellectual freedom despite physical bondage, taught that true control lies in how we respond to what we cannot change. If you find yourself in situations where someone consistently acts against your values, Stoicism advises careful reflection. Ask yourself, would I choose this relationship if I had no history with this person? Does this connection bring me closer to wisdom and virtue, or does it lead me away from them? Not all relationships must end dramatically. Sometimes simply setting boundaries, limiting emotional engagement, and responding with measured detachment is enough. And if you must walk away, do so not with anger, but with gratitude for what you've learned. So, what's the takeaway? Your peace is your responsibility. The people you keep in your life should uplift, not drain you. Stoic secrets remind us that we don't control others, only ourselves. By mastering your reactions and choosing relationships that align with your values, you cultivate not just emotional stability, but a life of true strength and clarity. The question is, will you take charge of your relationships, or will you let them take charge of you? Number 3. Consider the consequences of distancing. Every action you take has consequences, and detachment is no exception. Before stepping away from a person, job, or situation, ask yourself, what will this choice lead to? Modern Stoicism is not about making rash decisions in the heat of emotion, but about taking deliberate, thoughtful action rooted in wisdom. Stoic principles teach us to think beyond the present, to consider not just how we feel right now, but how we will feel once the dust settles. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When you choose detachment, are you seeking clarity or escape? Are you acting with wisdom, or are you running from discomfort? The answers to these questions define whether your decision leads to growth or regret. Think of life as a vast forest, each choice a path leading to a different destination. One route might lead to peace, self-discovery, and wisdom, another to loneliness, regret, or unresolved issues. Which path will you take? Stoic rules remind us that emotions are fleeting, but the consequences of our actions can last a lifetime. This is why detachment should never be impulsive. If you end a relationship, will you feel liberated, or will you regret it when your emotions settle? If you walk away from a job, is it because it no longer aligns with your purpose, or because you struggled to manage frustration? Seneca warned, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." If you make decisions without deep consideration, you may never find true stability. We live in a world that glorifies quick fixes, ghosting someone instead of having a difficult conversation, quitting without truly assessing the situation, walking away from relationships, careers, and commitments at the first sign of discomfort. But Stoic principles demand more from you. They challenge you to act with reason, not impulse. True detachment is about inner peace, not avoidance. It should not be a habit that isolates you from meaningful experiences, but a tool that allows you to maintain clarity and balance. Epictetus said it best. It is not events that disturb people, it is their judgments concerning them. Many times the problem is not the situation itself, but how we perceive and react to it. A friend of mine once struggled with this exact dilemma. He felt overwhelmed by a toxic work environment and wanted to quit immediately. Every day felt like a battle, and he was certain that walking away was the only option. But instead of making a rash decision, he took time to reflect. He asked himself, "Is my frustration caused by the job itself, or by my inability to set boundaries?" After careful thought, he realized that he had never communicated his concerns, never sought solutions. He had simply let resentment build up. Instead of quitting, he changed his approach, set limits, and took control of his situation. Months later, his perspective shifted. He didn't need to run, he needed to adapt. And in doing so, he discovered a strength he didn't know he had. Reflection, not impulse, is the key to mastering detachment. The Stoic secrets to peace lie in knowing that every choice shapes your future. Seneca once said, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." The more you prepare your mind, the stronger you become in the face of difficult decisions. Choose wisely, because true strength lies not in avoiding pain, but in facing it with courage and wisdom. Number 4. Talk to someone you trust. Stoicism teaches self-sufficiency, but that doesn't mean you have to go through life alone. Strength isn't about isolation. It's about knowing when to seek wisdom from those who can offer perspective and clarity. Even the most disciplined minds benefit from guidance, because sometimes the way forward becomes clear only in conversation. Stoic secrets remind us that no one is truly independent. We all need people who help us see beyond our emotions. Seneca described friendship as a mirror, one that reflects both wisdom and comfort. When you talk to someone you trust, you're not admitting weakness. You're sharpening your perspective, much like iron sharpens iron. Think about it. When your emotions cloud your judgment, wouldn't you want a clear-eyed observer to help you see through the fog? The iron mind isn't rigid, it's adaptable, willing to listen and learn from those with valuable insights. Marcus Aurelius, despite being one of the most powerful emperors in history, surrounded himself with advisors and teachers, always seeking wisdom from those he respected. He wrote, "If anyone can prove and show me that I think or act in error, I will gladly change, for I seek the truth." That is real strength, not pretending to have all the answers, but being open to those who can help you find them. Modern life often glorifies self-reliance to the point of isolation. We tell ourselves that we can handle everything alone, that asking for help is a sign of weakness, but even the strongest minds benefit from honest reflection through others. Have you ever noticed that talking through a problem often reveals a solution you couldn't see on your own? That's because verbalizing thoughts forces you to structure them, making them clearer and easier to analyze. Just like superheroes have sidekicks, history's greatest thinkers had mentors, advisors, and confidants. Even Seneca, a man whose writings have guided countless generations, believed that discussing struggles with a wise friend lightens the burden, turning problems into lessons rather than obstacles. But here's the problem. Instead of seeking real conversations, most people today turn to social media and distractions when they feel overwhelmed. They scroll, seeking validation, consuming endless opinions, or numbing themselves with entertainment. But the real antidote to confusion is meaningful conversation. Instead of retreating into isolation or digital noise, find someone you trust, a mentor, a close friend, or a family member, and allow yourself to be vulnerable. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's a sign that you value wisdom over pride. The Stoic principles remind us that detachment isn't about cutting off all connections. It's about knowing which ones bring clarity and growth. Who do you turn to when life feels overwhelming? Who challenges your thinking? Who helps you refine your perspective when your emotions threaten to take control? If you don't have an answer, maybe it's time to build those relationships. The next time you feel burdened by a situation or a difficult decision, remember, you don't have to carry the weight alone. Seek the right counsel, and you'll find that many burdens become lighter simply by sharing them. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Men exist for the sake of one another. Teach them or endure them." Life isn't meant to be navigated alone. Choose wisdom, choose guidance, and watch how much stronger you become. Number 5. Take a temporary break. There is power in stepping back. When emotions are high, when your mind feels clouded, and when a situation feels too overwhelming to navigate, distance provides clarity. Taking a temporary break isn't about avoidance. It's about gaining the space necessary to make decisions rooted in reason rather than emotion. Stoic secrets teach us that true strength isn't found in reacting, but in choosing when and how to respond. Cicero wisely advised, "Retreat into your own mind often," reminding us that self-reflection is essential for wisdom. When you remove yourself even briefly from a difficult person or situation, you create room for perspective. And with perspective, you can evaluate not just what is happening, but how you are responding to it. Think of a painter who steps too close to the canvas. When they are inches away, the colors blur, the details merge, and the image loses its meaning. But by stepping back, they see the full picture with clarity. The same applies to life. When you are too emotionally entangled, your judgment is impaired. A temporary break, whether it's a weekend away, an afternoon walk, or even a few hours of solitude, gives you the chance to observe from a distance. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, understood this well. In his meditations, he reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." A break is not about controlling others. It is about reclaiming control over yourself. A friend of mine once found himself in a constant state of frustration at work, dealing with a difficult colleague. Every interaction became a battle, and his emotions were beginning to take control of his thoughts. Instead of quitting in frustration, he decided to take a temporary step back, requesting a short vacation, disconnecting from work emails, and allowing himself the time to reflect. When he returned, he saw the situation more clearly. The colleague had not changed, but his perspective had. Instead of feeling personally attacked, he recognized that his own reactions had been feeding the conflict. With fresh clarity, he was able to approach the situation with patience, diffusing tension instead of fueling it. The lesson here is simple. Stepping away doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're giving yourself the space to think. Too often we act in haste, saying things we regret, making decisions we later question, or allowing temporary emotions to dictate permanent actions. Stoic lessons teach us to pause, reflect, and return with wisdom. If something or someone is overwhelming you, take a break. Go for a walk, sit in silence, turn inward. The time you take now to gain clarity can prevent mistakes and regrets later. This is not avoidance, it is strategy. And the ability to step back before acting is a mark of wisdom and self-mastery. Modern Stoicism reminds us that control over the mind is the greatest strength you can cultivate. Master that, and no situation will ever have power over you. Now that you've made it this far in the video, I encourage you to comment "Pause for clarity" below. It's a great way to show that you're deeply absorbing the Stoic lessons and practicing calmness in your life. Take a moment to reflect. Have you ever taken a step back and seen things more clearly? Share your thoughts below. I'd love to hear your perspective. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and I hope these Stoic secrets help you cultivate a stronger mindset on your Stoic path. Number 6. Limit social media distractions. In a world overflowing with notifications, viral trends, and never-ending content, stepping away from social media has become more than just a break. It's an act of self-discipline. You and I both know how easy it is to fall into the trap. You check one quick update, and before you know it, you're lost in a spiral of comparison, negativity, or meaningless distractions that add no real value to your life. Modern Stoicism isn't just about detaching from people or situations. It's about reclaiming your mind from external forces that pull you away from what truly matters. Stoic principles remind us that we must guard our time, stay present, and focus only on what we can control. But if your emotions are constantly swayed by what you see online, then I have to ask, who's in control, your mind or the algorithm? Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, warned us centuries ago, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." If he were alive today, he'd likely see social media as one of the biggest culprits of wasted time and mental clutter. Think about it. Every post you consume, every debate you engage in, and every highlight reel you compare yourself to subtly shapes your emotions, thoughts, and self-worth. Have you ever logged off feeling drained, irritated, or dissatisfied with your own life? That's a clear sign that digital distractions are taking more than they give. Stoic rules encourage temperance, moderation in all things. Social media itself isn't inherently bad, but if it dictates your mood, disrupts your focus, or distances you from reality, it's time to reassess your relationship with it. I once knew someone who spent nearly 4 hours a day scrolling, watching strangers live their lives, engaging in arguments that led nowhere, consuming information that did nothing but fuel stress. He wasn't aware of how much time he was losing until he checked his screen time report. 4 hours a day added up to 28 hours a week, 112 hours a month, almost 5 full days lost to mindless scrolling every single month. When he finally recognized how much life he was missing, he decided to take control. He deleted his social media apps for a week. At first, he felt restless, as if something was missing. The habit of checking his phone was deeply ingrained. But after a few days, his mind became clearer. His anxiety faded. He became more present in his daily life. He replaced scrolling with reading, walking, and real conversations. By the end of the week, he realized something profound. He had been living in a digital prison without even knowing it. Now, I want you to take a step back and look at your own habits. How much of your time is truly yours? Are you in control of your focus, or are you letting algorithms dictate what you think, feel, and believe? If the idea of going a few hours without checking your phone makes you uncomfortable, that's a sign that it might be time to step back. If you feel mentally drained after being online, if social media affects your happiness, or if you find yourself caught in endless scrolling with nothing to show for it, then it may be time to reset. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The ability to detach from distractions is a form of power. When you master your attention, you master your life. Think of social media like a puzzle. When it becomes too complicated, too frustrating, it's okay to step away and reset. You don't have to quit entirely, but you must use it intentionally rather than letting it use you. Give your mind space to breathe, reflect, and focus on what truly enriches your life. The Stoic secrets to inner peace and resilience lie in training your mind, not allowing it to be hijacked by digital noise. Will you take control, or will you continue letting an endless feed decide how you feel, how you think, and how you spend your time? The choice, as always, is yours. Number 7. Prioritize your own needs. One of the greatest lessons from Stoic secrets is that true detachment isn't about pushing people away. It's about ensuring that your well-being is never dependent on anything outside of your control. You and I both know how easy it is to get caught up in the expectations of others, sacrificing our own peace in an endless attempt to please, fix, or accommodate. But at what cost? How many times have you put yourself second, agreeing to things you didn't want, tolerating mistreatment, or stretching yourself too thin, all because you feared disappointing others? Marcus Aurelius warned us, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions." If your ambitions are centered on external approval rather than inner stability, you're building your happiness on shaky ground. Stoic lessons remind us that prioritizing your own needs isn't selfish. It's essential. If you don't take care of your own mind, body, and spirit, who will? Epictetus, a man who was born into slavery yet rose to become one of history's greatest philosophers, built his teachings around a simple but powerful truth. Separate what you can control from what you cannot. You can't control how others think, how they react, or how they treat you, but you can control how you respond, where you invest your energy, and how much you allow outside forces to dictate your emotions. Have you ever felt drained, exhausted from constantly trying to meet everyone's expectations? That exhaustion is a signal. It's your mind telling you that you've given too much power away. When you stop living for external validation and start focusing on your own emotional stability, you reclaim control over your life. You don't need permission to put yourself first. You don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting your peace. The moment you recognize that, you step into true freedom. I once knew someone who spent years trying to make everyone happy. He agreed to plans he didn't want, tolerated mistreatment, and overextended himself just to avoid disappointing others. He convinced himself that putting himself last was a form of kindness, that it made him a good person, but over time resentment grew. He wasn't living for himself. He was living for the comfort of others. And in doing so, he was suffocating. The day he finally set boundaries was the day he found peace. Not everyone liked it. Some people reacted negatively, but those who truly valued him respected it. That's the paradox of prioritizing yourself. The wrong people will resist, but the right ones will understand. If you fear disappointing others, ask yourself, are their expectations worth my inner turmoil? Because if maintaining a relationship requires you to sacrifice your own well-being, is that really a relationship worth keeping? In today's world, where we are constantly bombarded by social pressures, unrealistic standards, and the endless need for approval, prioritizing yourself is a radical act. We've been conditioned to believe that putting ourselves first is selfish, but the reality is you cannot pour from an empty cup. If you are always trying to meet everyone else's needs while ignoring your own, you will burn out. And when you do, who will take care of you? Modern Stoicism teaches us that peace is an inside job. True happiness isn't found in the opinions of others, in social media validation, or in chasing an illusion of external success. It's found in aligning your actions with what truly serves your well-being. Seneca put it best: if you want to be loved, love yourself first. Prioritizing your needs doesn't mean disregarding others. It means refusing to sacrifice your own peace for things outside your control. It means recognizing that detachment isn't just about stepping away from people, it's about stepping into your own power. Have you been living for yourself, or have you been giving away your peace to please people who wouldn't do the same for you? If you have, then it's time to change. It's time to reclaim your time, energy, and emotional well-being. It's time to set boundaries, put yourself first, and start making decisions based on what's best for you, not what keeps everyone else comfortable. Because in the end, the only person who has to live with your choices is you. Detachment is not just about stepping away, it's about stepping forward with clarity and purpose. By practicing these 7 Stoic principles, you gain control over your emotions, relationships, and decisions. But detachment isn't only about external actions, it starts from within. Let's now explore how to strengthen your Stoic mindset for lasting resilience. B. Strengthening Stoic detachment in everyday life. Detachment isn't just about stepping away from negative people or situations. It's also about cultivating the inner strength to navigate life's challenges with wisdom. Now, let's explore 6 additional Stoic practices to reinforce your mindset and strengthen your ability to detach when necessary. Number 1. Cultivate inner stillness. In a world that never stops moving, Where notifications demand your attention, opinions flood your mind, and distractions pull you in 100 directions, the ability to cultivate inner stillness is a rare and powerful skill. You and I both know how easy it is to get lost in the noise, constant comparisons, endless worries, and the pressure to react to everything happening around us. But modern Stoicism reminds us that true strength isn't found in external control, it's found in mastering yourself. Stoic principles teach that stillness is not inactivity. It's the conscious choice to create space between stimulus and response, to develop a mind that remains unshaken no matter what happens outside of you. Marcus Aurelius, a man who ruled an empire in chaos, still found time to remind himself, nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. So the real question is, have you given yourself the time to retreat inward, or are you constantly drowning in the external world? Inner stillness isn't just about silence. It's about learning to observe rather than react, to create mental clarity in a world designed to overwhelm you. Think about the last time you truly sat with your own thoughts. No phone, no distractions, just you. Was it uncomfortable? Most people avoid solitude because they fear what they might find, but Stoic rules teach that facing your own mind is the path to self-mastery. Seneca once warned, "If you are everywhere, you are nowhere." If your mind is constantly jumping from one worry to the next, from social media to work stress to personal conflicts, when do you actually take control? Have you ever considered that stillness might be the key to reclaiming your mental strength? I knew someone who constantly felt overwhelmed, news cycles, work stress, endless social obligations. He told me he never had a moment to think, yet he was always exhausted. One day, he decided to do something simple. Every morning before touching his phone, he sat in silence for 10 minutes. No distractions, no music, just breathing and observing his thoughts. At first, it felt strange, but over time, he realized something. He was no longer reacting to life. He was responding with clarity. He started journaling, reflecting before speaking, and making decisions based on reason rather than impulse. His mind became an anchor rather than a storm. That is the power of cultivating inner stillness. Modern Stoicism is about building a fortress within, one that external chaos cannot breach. Inner stillness is not a luxury. It's a necessity for anyone seeking wisdom, resilience, and true freedom. So before you react, before you speak, before you let the world dictate your emotions, pause. Give yourself a moment of stillness, because in that space, you will find clarity, power, and the ability to live by Stoic principles, not by the distractions of the world. If you've ever struggled to find peace in the middle of chaos, take a moment to share your strength by commenting, "I choose inner stillness," below. Your journey toward mental clarity and emotional resilience could inspire others to step away from distractions and embrace true presence. Let's build a community that values calm over chaos and discipline over distraction, because real power comes from mastering your own mind. Number 2. Develop mental toughness through voluntary discomfort. Life rarely unfolds the way we plan. Challenges, setbacks, and unexpected obstacles are inevitable, and whether we like it or not, they will come. But the difference between those who crumble under pressure and those who rise above it isn't luck, it's mental toughness. And here's the truth. Resilience isn't a gift, it's a skill. It's something you train, something you build through deliberate effort. Stoic secrets teach us that we cannot wait for hardship to strike before preparing ourselves. We must condition our minds and bodies through controlled discomfort, so that when real adversity arrives, we stand firm, unshaken. The iron mind is not forged in comfort, but in adversity. The Stoics understood this well. Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius didn't just talk about resilience, they practiced it. They deliberately embraced discomfort to weaken its power over them. They took cold baths, walked barefoot, wore simple clothing, and lived on minimal food, not because they had to, but because they wanted to remind themselves that comfort is not a necessity for happiness. Seneca advised, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, 'Is this the condition that I feared?'" He knew that by periodically experiencing discomfort, he could detach from the fear of hardship, making him mentally stronger and more prepared for whatever life threw his way. When was the last time you deliberately stepped outside your comfort zone? Most people avoid discomfort at all costs, yet they wonder why they feel overwhelmed when life doesn't go their way. But what if you trained yourself to embrace discomfort instead of running from it? What if you built mental discipline through small, intentional hardships? Think about it. How strong would you be if you learned to fast for a day, endure cold temperatures, push your body through intense exercise, or resist the urge to indulge in every comfort? These are not punishments. They are training for the real challenges in life. Marcus Aurelius understood this when he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." I knew someone who avoided discomfort at all costs. He hated the cold, always sought convenience, and never put himself in situations where he felt uneasy. But when life threw real challenges his way, a lost job, financial stress, personal setbacks, he crumbled. Why? Because he had never trained himself to handle difficulty. He had spent his entire life avoiding hardship rather than preparing for it. But then he made a change. He started small, taking cold showers, fasting for half a day, limiting unnecessary comforts. At first it was hard. His mind resisted, his body complained. But over time, something shifted. He became more disciplined, more in control of his emotions. The small discomforts that once seemed unbearable became effortless, and when real adversity struck again, he didn't panic. He faced it with clarity and confidence. Life will test you. The question is not if hardship will come, but when, and more importantly, will you be ready? Modern Stoicism teaches that while we cannot control external events, we can control how prepared we are to face them. If you deliberately push your limits now, when life challenges you later, you won't break. You'll stand firm. Epictetus famously said, "Difficulties show what men are. When things get hard, will you collapse under pressure, or will you rise with unshakable resilience? The choice is yours. Remain soft, controlled by circumstances, or embrace discomfort and forge a mind that nothing can break. If you choose the latter, you are already one step closer to true freedom. The more you train your mind, the less power the outside world has over you." Seneca put it best, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." The question now is, will you choose strength or remain a prisoner to comfort? Number 3, redefine success and failure. What if everything you've been taught about success and failure is wrong? From childhood, we are conditioned to chase results, getting the promotion, earning recognition, hitting financial milestones, yet we rarely stop to ask, do these things truly define success? Society tells us that achievement is about status and external rewards, but Stoic lessons challenge that idea. Marcus Aurelius warned, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about your neighbors. It will keep you from doing anything useful." In other words, stop worrying about how others measure success and focus on your own path. If you tie your worth to achievements, you will forever be at the mercy of things outside your control. But if you redefine success as living virtuously, acting with wisdom, and staying true to yourself, you gain something far more valuable: freedom. Think about it. How often do we let others' opinions dictate our self-worth? If we win, we feel on top of the world. If we fail, we feel worthless. But what if you detached from these external judgments and focused instead on effort, discipline, and resilience? Stoic secrets teach that while we cannot control outcomes, we can control our actions, mindset, and discipline. Seneca put it plainly: "He who is brave is free." And he was right. When you stop fearing failure, you become unstoppable. You try, you learn, you grow, and you keep moving forward, without the weight of self-doubt holding you back. I once knew someone who poured everything into launching a business. He worked tirelessly, sacrificed comfort, and gave it his all, only for it to fail. For months he felt like a failure himself, questioning his worth, believing he had wasted time. But then something shifted. He realized that the experience had made him sharper, more disciplined, more resilient. So when he started his next venture, he was no longer afraid of losing, because he understood that the real failure was never trying at all. That shift in mindset changed everything. His business eventually succeeded, but by then, success had taken on a different meaning. It was no longer about money or status. It was about becoming someone who refused to let fear dictate his choices. So, let me ask you, what if you stopped defining yourself by wins and losses? What if you shifted your focus to Stoic principles like effort, virtue, and resilience? Would criticism still sting? Would setbacks still paralyze you? Or would you move forward with confidence, knowing that success isn't about the result, but about the courage to keep going? Epictetus once said, "Circumstances don't make the man, they only reveal him to himself." So the real question is, who will you choose to be? Modern Stoicism doesn't tell you to ignore ambition, it teaches you to shift your perspective. When you measure success by the effort you give rather than the results you get, failure loses its power over you. Because failure is never the end, it is simply another step toward growth. The greatest test of your strength is not whether you succeed or fail, but whether you have the courage to keep moving forward. Number 4. Practice negative visualization. There's a powerful practice in Stoic principles that most people overlook, because at first glance, it seems counterintuitive. Why would you spend time thinking about worst-case scenarios? Shouldn't we focus on the positive, stay hopeful, and avoid unnecessary negativity? But modern Stoicism teaches us that true strength doesn't come from blind optimism. It comes from preparation. It comes from mentally fortifying yourself before life's inevitable trials appear. This is the art of negative visualization, a technique that allows you to face uncertainty with resilience, not fear. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, constantly reminded himself of life's impermanence. He wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He wasn't being morbid. He was training his mind to detach from fear, to accept life's fragility, and to live fully in the present. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you truly prepared yourself for hardship before it arrived? Most people hope for the best, but are completely caught off guard when difficulties strike. They panic, they suffer more than necessary, and they feel like victims of circumstances. But what if you trained yourself in advance? What if you made adversity familiar to your mind, so that when it appeared, you knew how to handle it? Negative visualization isn't about expecting disaster or dwelling on the worst. It's about removing the shock factor from life's inevitable difficulties. Think of it this way: If you never considered the possibility of losing your job, an unexpected layoff would feel like the end of the world. But if you've already prepared, if you've thought through the steps you'd take, how you'd handle it, and how you'd rebuild, then the setback no longer controls you. Instead of reacting emotionally, you respond with clarity and confidence. Stoic rules emphasize that suffering often comes not from the event itself, but from our lack of preparation for it. Seneca put it best when he said, "He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand." When you imagine potential setbacks in advance, you strip them of their ability to paralyze you. I once knew someone who lived in constant fear of failure, fear of losing loved ones, fear of unexpected hardships. He avoided thinking about these things, hoping that by ignoring them, they would never happen. But life doesn't work that way. When real adversity struck, he wasn't ready. He felt overwhelmed, unprepared, and lost. Then he adopted a new mindset. He started to visualize challenges before they arrived, not in a way that made him anxious, but in a way that helped him strategize. He asked himself, what would I do if I lost my job tomorrow? How would I handle it if I had to start over? Over time, these thoughts stopped scaring him. When difficulties finally came, he met them with calmness, not panic, because in his mind he had already lived through them. This is the power of negative visualization. You rehearse hardship before it happens, so when it does, you don't suffer unnecessarily. You aren't blindsided by life because you've already prepared. You are no longer a victim of fate. You are an architect of resilience. Think about a firefighter. They don't wait for a fire to break out to figure out how to respond. They train relentlessly so that when the emergency arrives, they act automatically, without fear or hesitation. That's the level of mental discipline that Stoic secrets encourage us to cultivate. So, take a moment today, reflect on what could go wrong. Not with fear, but with intention. What if you had to start over in life? What if a major setback appeared tomorrow? Would you be ready? Because if you've already faced it in your mind, you've already conquered half the battle. Epictetus once said, "Difficulties show what men are." Therefore, when a difficulty falls upon you, remember that God, like a trainer of wrestlers, has matched you with a rough young man. Hardships don't break the strong, they reveal their strength. And the stronger you train your mind today, the less control adversity will have over you tomorrow. Modern Stoicism isn't about pessimism. It's about becoming unshakable in an unpredictable world. You can't control everything, but you can control how prepared you are. So the question remains, will you wait for hardship to hit you unprepared, or will you start training your mind now? Number 5. Limit exposure to toxic influences. There's a powerful yet overlooked practice in Stoic principles that might seem counterintuitive at first. Why think about the worst-case scenario? Shouldn't we focus on the positive and avoid unnecessary negativity? But modern Stoicism teaches that true strength doesn't come from blind optimism. It comes from preparation. Negative visualization is a tool that builds resilience, allowing you to face uncertainty with composure instead of fear. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply and often reminded himself, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He wasn't being morbid. He was training himself to accept life's fragility and to live with purpose, knowing that control over external events is an illusion, but control over the mind is within reach. So let me ask you, when was the last time you truly prepared for hardship before it arrived? Most people avoid thinking about worst-case scenarios because they believe it invites negativity. But negative visualization isn't about expecting failure. It's about reducing the shock when things don't go as planned. Picture this. You lose your job unexpectedly. If you've never considered that possibility, panic sets in. But if you've mentally rehearsed the steps you'd take, the setback no longer controls you. You remain steady and take action. Stoic rules remind us that suffering often doesn't come from the event itself, but from our unpreparedness. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, advised, "He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand." By anticipating difficulties, you strip them of their ability to paralyze you. This doesn't mean dwelling in fear, but rather training yourself to handle adversity with clarity and confidence. The more you confront challenges in your mind, the less power they have over you in reality. I once knew someone who lived in constant fear, fear of failure, fear of loss, fear of the unexpected. He avoided thinking about negative possibilities, believing that ignoring fears would somehow protect him. But when real challenges came, he felt lost, overwhelmed, and unprepared. Then he changed his approach. Instead of avoiding worst-case scenarios, he faced them head-on. He asked himself, what would I do if I lost my job tomorrow? How would I rebuild? If I lost someone I love, how would I carry on? Over time, his fears lost their grip on him. When difficulties finally arose, he didn't panic. He acted with stoic discipline because he had already met those hardships in his mind. And when you've already experienced something mentally, reality feels far less daunting. Think about what keeps you up at night. Instead of suppressing those fears, confront them, not with anxiety, but with strategy. What's the worst that could happen? How would you handle it? Could you survive it? Epictetus, a man who was born into slavery and later became one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, taught, difficulties show a person's character. So, when trouble comes, think of yourself as a wrestler given a tougher opponent. If you never prepare for hardship, how can you expect to remain unshaken when life tests you? Those who never practice discomfort, never plan for loss, and never consider setbacks will always be caught off guard. But those who train for adversity, who see challenges before they arise, will stand firm while others crumble. Let's take this a step further. Negative visualization doesn't just prepare you for difficulties, it makes you appreciate what you already have. When you imagine losing something, you suddenly realize its value. This practice shifts your mindset from entitlement to gratitude. Cicero once said, "Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others." When you picture losing your job, your health, or the people you love, you stop taking them for granted. Instead of complaining, you cherish what's in front of you. You become fully present. You become stronger. You become unshakable. So I ask you, if the worst happened tomorrow, would you be ready? Would you break down, or would you step forward with the confidence of someone who has already faced it in their mind? Modern Stoicism isn't about dwelling on negativity. It's about training yourself to be unshakable in an unpredictable world. If you anticipate setbacks, you reduce their impact. You're no longer at the mercy of fate. You become the architect of your own resilience. Take a moment today. Face your fears, not with dread, but with a plan. Because if you've already met the storm in your mind, you've already won half the battle. And in the end, isn't that the kind of strength we all seek? Number 6. Embrace the present moment. You are careful about what you eat, right? You wouldn't willingly consume poison or let something harmful into your body. But what about your mind? How often do you let negativity, toxic influences, and emotional pollution seep into your thoughts without realizing the damage they cause? The truth is, just as we filter what we eat to maintain physical health, we must filter what we consume mentally to protect our peace. Stoic secrets remind us that external influences, whether they come from toxic relationships, relentless negativity in the news, or an endless stream of digital distractions, have a profound effect on our emotions, clarity, and overall well-being. And yet most people never stop to ask, is this helping me or is this hurting me? Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, understood this well. He wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." That means every piece of information you consume, every person you surround yourself with, and every digital influence you allow into your life shapes your mind. If you are constantly exposed to negativity, drama, and fear-driven content, how can you expect to cultivate an iron mind, one that is unshaken, disciplined, and at peace? Stoic principles teach that while we cannot control everything happening around us, we can absolutely control what we choose to engage with. You wouldn't leave your front door open for thieves to walk in freely, so why do the same with your mind? I once knew someone who was constantly anxious, overwhelmed, and mentally drained. When we talked, I realized his entire day was filled with negativity. He started his mornings scrolling through news designed to provoke outrage, spent hours consuming online debates filled with hostility, and maintained relationships that thrived on complaints and pessimism. He never questioned the impact of these things on his state of mind. But when he made a change, when he started limiting his time on social media, cutting out news that served no real purpose, and surrounding himself with people who uplifted rather than drained him, his entire outlook shifted. He wasn't less informed or disconnected from reality. He was simply more intentional with his mental diet, and as a result, his emotional clarity returned. If something doesn't add value, why give it space in your thoughts? The key to mental strength lies in what you choose to absorb and what you consciously reject. The next time you feel overwhelmed, take a step back and filter your influences. Cut the noise, detach from what drains you, and protect your peace with the same discipline you would protect your body. Because the quality of your mind shapes the quality of your life, and no one else but you has the power to guard it. Ket B. Detachment is not about indifference. It's about clarity and control over our emotions and reactions. By cultivating inner stillness, mental toughness, and a redefined view of success, we empower ourselves to navigate life's challenges with wisdom and resilience. Filtering out toxic influences and embracing the present moment allows us to maintain equanimity, no matter what external forces try to disrupt our peace. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. By practicing these Stoic techniques, we gain the ability to detach from negativity while staying deeply engaged in what truly matters: our growth, our virtues, and our pursuit of wisdom. Detachment in Stoicism isn't about shutting yourself off from the world. It's about cultivating inner peace and an iron mind that remains steady no matter what life throws your way. By practicing these Stoic secrets, you take control of your emotions, align yourself with modern Stoicism, and embrace a life of wisdom, clarity, and strength. As Seneca reminded us, true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. So take these lessons, apply them, and move forward with confidence and purpose. If you found value in this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Stoic Secrets, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming videos. Thank you for being part of this journey, and until next time, stay strong, stay wise, and stay stoic.